Okay, this is going to be a video on how to use getBlock.io free shared node services and Postman to make JSON RPC request calls to a public shared node. It has limited API access because it is public. It doesn't have any wallet functions. You can't send funds or anything like that, but we can call a lot of interesting information and stuff like that. Now, to set it up, all we need is an email address, and we'll just come to getBlock.io and get started. I've already signed up, so it's not going to sign me up again. And it'll open up to your hub dashboard. From here, we will create a new node. Select the protocol, which will be Zcashd. Select the network, which will be mainnet, and then you'll click your get button right here. It'll give you your endpoint, which is the actual address that we're going to be sending the post calls to, and then up here we'll get an API key that you can distribute amongst other people if you had multiple people calling this node. Now, the shared node, as you can see, offers 40,000 requests per day, so if you're just messing around, it's nothing to worry about. If you were getting into something serious, you wanted to make lots of calls, you wanted to work on some kind of serious application, but you really don't have the capacity to run your own full Zcashd node, then you can use this service. Now, we'll copy the API key here, and then we'll come back and copy the endpoint. Now, Postman I just got from out of the Snap Store, the Ubuntu software app, which worked easy enough for me. You'll open up Postman, you'll create a new account, or you just use a regular one, which, like I'm using, is asking me to sign in. I'm not actually using an account here. You'll go into authorization, and this is where we're going to paste the API key right here. Okay, and I'm already set up, so I don't need to do that. Up here, we're going to paste in the endpoint, which is the address I showed you at the bottom. Paste that in here, and then paste it in here if it doesn't auto-populate. Select post here if this isn't already set, and then go into body. Now, in here we're going to select raw, and we're going to select JSON. I think by default it says text, so we're going to want to change those two things. And in here, I believe by default is blank. So to find information about what you put in here, this is what the call actually looks like. Navigate to the technical documentation for getBlock, and then eventually, I think it's in either API methods or Postman collection, you'll find your way to document or get Postman. And in here will be an example that you can copy and paste basically. Now, we'll get that, we'll put it in here, and your method essentially is the call. And we can send it, and this is what we get. Now, we can select pretty, or we can select raw. Now, in this case, I've copied all of this out into a text file so that we can see it a little bit better. The address functions up here are not accessible with the shared node. A lot of the blockchain ones are, some are not. For instance, get spent info is not available. The tx out is tx out set info. Tx out set info is tx out proof. Experimental features is not available. You can't restart this node. You can't access the comp file. Block subsidy, a lot of these ones are available. A lot of the network ones are available as well. The raw transaction ones seem to be available, oddly enough, and a lot of these ones down here in the util are as well. Now, this is basically the same thing that you would find in the Zcashd RPC docs. If you call that particular request, help help with that particular request as the parameter. Let's see. As you can see, we'll try this one first. This one is disabled, like I mentioned, and it lets us know, warning, get address balance is disabled, and we can't actually enable that with the shared node. If you upgraded, I'm sure that you would have access to more things. Now we'll run a couple of calls here just to give you an idea of kind of what it's like. So we'll run, just get mining info, a couple of ones without the parameters that follow, just these single words. The ones followed by the parentheses, these are optional parameters. You wouldn't necessarily have to pass that if you didn't want to. Ones that just have a word with the double quotes, like this says node, that is a non-optional parameter. This one's probably not accessible, add node. Some of them require nested arrays. Like this get raw transaction, we would have to put another square brace inside of the one that we have with curly braces inside of that one. And we have to set up a lot, like basically exactly how it determines it. In some cases, these aren't actually correct. The verify message one should have commas right here, but it doesn't actually state that. So there could be an element of troubleshooting as you go along playing with this thing. So let's just run some here. Get some info. The ID can be whatever we want it to be. As you can see, we get ID fares. Let's run a fun one. Let's do the get TX out proof. Now this one takes in a transaction ID, so we'll copy just some old transaction ID and put that in there. Any text that goes into the parameters has to be encapsulated somehow, most of the time by double quotes. Oh wait, I didn't put the square array. We'll go back and I'll show you, but this one was supposed to be inside of another array. There we go. Okay, and this is the proof, and we'll use this guy in the next call to get that transaction ID. In this case, we're going to run verify TX out proof. Oops. Now, double check. And as you can see, the verified TX out proof does not have the square brackets. Get TX out proof did. And so that's why it failed that first time. Okay. And we get the transaction ID that we put in the first time. Fun. Alright. Let's see. Verify chain. Get connection count. We can see who's connected to us. Peer info. Ping. It's probably work. Verify message is a neat one. We could try that one real quick. Now, in order to run verify message, we're going to need a message to verify. Verify message took in an address, signature, and the message. On exec pages, there just happens to be an example. In order to find the address that signed that message, we have to get the receiver of the unified address with zlist receivers, unified receivers, which we don't have access to in this particular with get block. Alright. Now in this case, like I said, it needs a comma, and you can verify this on the documents. Verify message. As you can see, address, comma, signature, comma. And that does not appear when we ran that help call that first time. They weren't there. Signature. Now the signature is this guy. And the message is just missed here. Let's see. True. Okay. Let's see. There's some other neat ones. But like I said, this would be something if you want to get some, just some practice playing around with making calls and finding out like what they do and information. Because a lot of this stuff is like what block explorers do, but in rapid succession behind the scenes. It takes a lot of calls, to display however much information you see like on one page potentially instead of just one. But I think that's about it.